The Derby County side of 2007-2008 is widely regarded as the worst team in Premier League history. In the 38-game season, the Rams only secured a single win and finished the season on a record low 11 points, coupled with a -69 goal difference. And thanks to the amazing Mad Scientist custom database, we can try and keep them in the Premier League in FM24. If you didn't know, there is a fully playable custom database of the 2007-2008 season that will have players like Cristiano Ronaldo at Manchester United, Ronaldinho at Barcelona, and even PES hero Adriano at Inter Milan. This database comes with 11 playable leagues full of the correct data for the 07-08 season, including 3 playable leagues in England. So can we avoid the worst season ever recorded in the Premier League and keep Derby in the division with this database? Let's take over the manager's seat at Pride Park and find out. So here we are in the Mad Scientist Retro database. Now I do have to give Mad a massive shout out. I will leave links to all of his stuff down in the description. These database videos are these databases are unreal, and these videos would not be possible without all of the hours worth of work that he puts in. So massive shout out to Mad. We are here at Derby County. We are at Pride Park. Now I'm just going to go and show you some stuff. Obviously I'm not going to do a proper tour around this database, but I just want to give you just a little bit of a flavour as to what you can expect with it. So let's dive in. First and foremost, Manchester United won the Premier League in 06-07. Obviously, Sir Alex is their manager, and their best player is Cristiano Ronaldo. Obviously, this is what United have here. Obviously, they have a 25-year-old Nemanja Vidic, a 28-year-old Rio Ferdinand at the team. Obviously, they still got Gary Neville, Patrice Evra, Paul Scholes, Nani, Giggs, etc. Obviously, they do have Wayne Rooney as well, but the star man in this team is Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, for those of you who can't remember, this season was the season that finished with the Champions League final in Moscow. It was Manchester United, Ronaldo missed the penalty, versus Chelsea, and John Terry missed that penalty. But you can see this is like unbelievable levels of nostalgia. A 22-year-old Ronaldo at Manchester United. Let's have a look at some of the other ones as well. Let's dive into Arsenal because they're right at the top. Let's have a look at some of their players. Cesc Fabregas was probably their best player at the time. He's only 20 years of age. He looks absolutely phenomenal. 20 passing, 20 composure, lots of unbelievable attributes to work with, guys. But what we are going to do is we're going to dive into the Premier League. Now, if we take a look at the odds and the preseason odds, you can see the Wonder Kit, or the Media Dream 11, sorry. You can see some of the players that are available right now. Petr Cech in goal, Vidic, Terry Ferdinand, and Ashley Cole was the back four. Gerard Essien, Fabregas, and Flora Malouda, of all players, in the midfield. And then Rooney and Didier Drogba up front. Now, we are going to take over as the Derby County manager. As you can see, they are 1,000-1 to stay in the division, and obviously in real life they did only get 11 points. This is the team that we have to work with. Now, some of you guys will look at this and say, where's your Robbie Savages, where's your Roy Carrolls? Those players didn't sign until January, so I don't actually have them right at the start. But let's have a look at some of our best players in this squad. Kenny Miller, who I believe from memory was their top goal scorer in that season from the research that I've done. He didn't score many, but he was their top goal scorer. He is going to be our main man. He's got 19 work rate, 17 teamwork, and 18 off the ball, along with some decent pace. Technically, he is lacking, but we will try and find a way around that. We've also got someone, Matt Oakley, not a player that I recognise by name immediately, but he actually looks pretty good. Good passing, along with free kick taking, nice leadership of 20 as well. What we are going to do, guys, is we are going to build this tactic. We are going to build a tactic live right now in this video. I haven't set anything up, and I'm going to try and build something live on the spot. We're going to play through the first game, and then I'm going to get through the season, and we'll see if I can keep Derby in the league. Now, looking at a tactical style, back in the day, you wouldn't have had any of this. I think what we're going to go for, guys, is a little bit of direct counter-attack. We're going to try and use the speed of Kenny Miller to try and, you know, get the ball down the wings, balls into the penalty area, and then we'll just see how the system works. Now, I was going to go for a 4-4-2, but obviously we're Derby County. We need a little bit more grit. So I'm thinking a 4-1-4-1, which obviously I can't see here. So we'll just go ahead with the 4-4-2. And I'm basically kind of thinking something along the lines of this. Now, obviously, we're going to try and put the best players in the best positions. So we're going to have to go through and see who we've got. So let's go through position by position. Bywater is my best goalkeeper, so he will go in. We'll go round in a minute and just kind of have a look at everyone's abilities and stuff like that in a second. Kamara as a wing back, I'm not really fancying him. Who else have we got? Jay McCleverly can play left back. Yeah, maybe an inverted fullback could work on him potentially. Andy Griffin, no, definitely much more of a centre-back. Okay, so we'll go with him as a left-back. We'll change the roles in a second. Then in centre-back, I think we're probably going to have to go Dean Laycock. I think he looks pretty solid. And Darren Moore, is this the guy who's gone on to be a manager? It is. Now we need a right-back. Tyrone Mears, potentially. Looks okay, 17 pace and 17 acceleration. That can actually cause a little bit of damage on that side. I'm vibing it, Tyrone. In you go. Now we need a DM. Now, Bob Malcolm is the only guy who is labelled as a DM outright. But Andy Todd, centre-back, good positioning, good leadership. Again, good work rate and strength. I think maybe Andy Todd goes in. He's 32 years of age, but I think he can do something here. Now, Oakley, we've already established is one of our best players alongside David Jones. So these two are going to be our midfield pair. So let's pop Jones in there and let's pop Oakley in there. Now we need two players either side of them. And then obviously it's going to be Kenny Miller up top. So we'll pop Kenny Miller in there. And then we'll basically build a team around the roles and the players that we do actually have here. So I think on the left-hand side, it looks like we've only got two options. And I don't really want to play in an attacking midfield position. Yeah, Stephen Pearson can play there. Looks pretty agile. Good bravery along with determination, flair, and work rate. So let's pop Pearson on the left. And then now I need someone to play on the right. And it's probably going to be another guy who's absolutely rapid, by the way. Gary Teal, maybe? Craig Fagan? Fagan's more of a striker, I would have probably said. Okay, let's go with Gary Teal, and then we'll see what we can build around this. So we'll just pop those players in there, and then we'll go back onto the tactics screen. So we're going to look something a little bit like this, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and kind of tweak the roles and responsibilities, and hopefully we have something that we can put together and that actually works. So Bywater in goal, he is definitely going to be a goalkeeper. There's going to be no sweeping, I wouldn't have thought. Is he fast? He's okay, 7 acceleration. No, definitely not a sweeper keeper. Now we said McCleverly is going to be an inverted fullback, so we'll pop him on defend. Darren Moore is probably most comfortable. No nonsense centre back. He is, or is he? He's a 3-star central defender, you know, gang. So I think we'll run him there. Laycock here is a 3.5-star, 2.5-star, 2.5-star centre back. So we'll leave him there. And then Mears, we said, had a lot of pace. So if we can maybe get him as a wing back, does he feel comfortable in a wing back on support function? He does. Wing back on support. Oh, no, that's wing back on attack. One too many, Steve. There we go. Wing back on support for Mears. I'm actually all right with that defensive lineup, defensive setup. It's not the best. We're the worst team in the league. I'm not expecting great things. Then let's go with the defense midfielder. Say, Todd, what are you most comfortable being, my friend? Ball-winning midfielder? Quite possibly. He's got good work rates to do that. We definitely don't want him as a support. So I'm either thinking ball-winning midfielder on defend or an anchor, because I just kind of want him to just sit. Needs technical skills to be a ball-winning midfielder. We'll pop him on defend. Do you have technique? No. Okay, right. Toddy, you are going to be an anchor, mate, because you don't need technique there. Oh, wing back on this side. I'm vibing an inverted winger on this side. Let's go inverted winger on attack for Teal. So Teal can come in and occupy this position and basically allow Mears to get down the other side. Let's set up the two best players in our team then. Jones is probably going to be more advanced. I don't want two playmakers here. Let's run him as a CM on attack, I think. CM on attack on both sides. Let's swap those around. So Jones is going to be here as the CM on attack. And then Oakley is probably going to be more of a playmaker. Yes. Deep line playmaker on support duty. You've got to have the right balance in this as well. Now, Pearson, I'm going to have to train him in the right position. But he wants to be a winger. So let's pop him as a winger. winger on support makes sense to me. Obviously, we're going to train him up, but I want him to kind of basically work the touchline, obviously, as we're going to have an inverted fullback here. And then up front is just going to be Kenny Miller as an advanced forward. We're going to play on a cautious mentality, but what I think we're going to try and do, guys, is we're going to try and play fairly wide and pass into the space, because I want the wingers to try and get themselves a little bit set up. We're going to go through the middle and we're going to be more disciplined, play for set pieces 100%. And we're going to do low crosses into the box, because I don't think, yeah, Kenny Miller's not got it in the air. So this is how we're going to set up in possession. Fairly wide width. We're going to play through the middle, passing into space, more direct passes, slightly higher tempo. Let's knock that tempo down. Standard tempo. We're not going to rush things. Low crosses, playing for set pieces, and we're going to be more disciplined. Right. In transition, when possession has been lost, we're going to regroup, because obviously we're not going to try and bust the gut here. We just want to be safe and cover things as much as we can. When possession has been won, I'm not actually going to go counter, because I think that will enable us to get caught out too much, and we're definitely not going to distribute the ball quickly. I think we're just going to keep the ball distribute to the flanks with long kicks. This is what we're going to do. Instead of booting the ball, we're going to try and find the wingers in space and see what we can do. Also, it's out of harm's way out on the flanks as well. So out of possession, low block, yes, 100%. Lower defensive line, let's maybe pop a standard defensive line. I don't want to invite the pressure too much, but obviously where we are in the low block, it's going to be on the edge of our penalty area. Trigger that press is a standard amount. I don't want them to get right in there, and I don't want them to drop off more. I think this is probably how we're going to set up. It's not an intense tactic, guys. It's not an intense tactic at all, but the familiarity is not there. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to try and, there you go, you can kind of see there, it's a bit of a mess. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this up, get all the players trained in their positions. We're on the 3rd of July. We're going to go through pre-season, and we have Reading, another team that I think got relegated in this season, at home on the first day of the season. We'll play through that one live, and then I'll get through the rest of it. So sit tight. We will be back in just a second once I've got through pre-season and everyone has got that tactical familiarity up, because this isn't going to cut it. We'll be back in a sec, guys. Right, guys, so we are back and we are ready to start the season. We've played through pre-season with this Derby County team, and we've started to pick up some good results in pre-season. I'm not going to lie to you. With the last 3 games all at home, we managed to beat AEK Athens at home. Yes, 94th minute winner. Don't care. We then beat Cambridge United at home, absolutely smashed them 6-1. And then we beat Ostend 5-0 at home, with Robert Earnshaw getting himself a hat-trick. Yes, we do have Robbie Earnshaw. As a Bristol City fan, this guy got on my nerves as he used to play for Cardiff, but I'm going to put my allegiances aside. We're going to play potentially Robert Earnshaw. Diving into the tactic, though, you can see the tactical familiarity has improved on this team. We're almost there. We've got a couple that are fluid. We've got a couple that are accomplished. And the more we kind of play and get through, we will be ready to start the season. We do have a couple of injuries that won't feature as much today. Mears, who was going to play right back for us, is returning to full fitness in 2 days, and Matt Oakley is injured and will be back in just 5 days. So this is how we are set up, guys, ready to rock and roll. And what I'm actually going to do is switch those two back around. There we go. Hopefully we should be a little bit more accustomed to how things are going to go there. Yeah, the familiarity has gone up. Obviously with the analysis and pitch side, obviously we're kind of lacking in these top 2 corners and in this position, but ultimately I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it at all. I think we are ready to rock and roll. Obviously we're going to start the season. We're going to play against Reading, live com that game against Reading, and then I'm just going to go through and play through the season, but bring it to you in more of a season recap kind of vibe. So we're going to get into the game then. We're going to ignore what my assistant manager says, because it says this guy maximum of 45 minutes, but he's pretty much fully healthy. He's just not match sharp. So fingers crossed we can get him through the game. Obviously, we do have Matt Oakley on the bench if we do need to bring him on, but he has a slight injury, so I'd rather not. Set pieces routines have not been set up for the match. I don't care. But I think we're ready to cook here. Robert Earnshaw leading the line. Jones is going to be a driving force for us through the middle. We're going to submit the team, and then we're going to come and see who Reading produced. I'm going to try and see the names that I do remember. Ibrahima Sonko is a name I remember. Nicky Shorey, of course. James Harper is another one that I remember. And Leroy Lita alongside Kevin Doyle up top. So these are all names that I do remember. Obviously, Adam Federici, Dave Kitson, John Oster, Khalifa Cisse, Shane Long. This Reading team was good, man. This Reading team was good. It's sad to see where they are and what is going on with them as a club right now. Our home form is important to us, so let's go out there and make the advantage count. Most of them seem aggressive. My defensive midfielder, most of them seem motivated. My defensive midfielder is aggressive though. So here we go. We take to the field at Pride Park with our 4-1-4-1. Kind of, some would say Bielsa. I'm going to say very defensive. And here come Reading in their 4-4-2 with obviously former Bristol City man Leroy Lita up front with Kevin Doyle. Obviously, that is the Premier League as things go. There are mods for this, by the way. Kit packs, face packs. There's all sorts of stuff like that. We're just going to change this to the TV view because for me, it's just a little bit better. Our road to 12 points as a minimum is underway, and we are obviously playing in white, and Reading are in the purple here, which is the current kits. But yeah, face packs and all of that good stuff are all available. I'm sure if you go onto Mad's Twitter, you'll be able to find everything. But now we play with Todd in the middle, and he drives into midfield, in towards Robert Earnshaw. First big chance for us. Robbie Earnshaw. He's offside. No. We'll go into VAR. Obviously, there's no VAR, but you can't take VAR out of the game, and the goal is disallowed. This is actually nice stuff from this Derby team. Griffin with the ball. Back to Todd, who goes for a long ranger, and it hits the crossbar. Wow, a 32-year-old man hitting the ball like that from midfield. You absolutely love to see it. Obviously, I didn't want to just plug in a GYR system because I know they work in this year's game. So I wanted to try and make something for myself because I think if I gave this team like, you know, Loki or Dynamite or something like that, I genuinely think we'd be absolutely fine regardless of the personnel because the tactic is good in this year's match engine. But I also don't think this team would have played a 4-3-3. Probably in real life, it would have been a 4-4-2. Right. Reading have scored, or Reading have put the ball in the back of the net. But we are going to VAR here. Checking goal review. And theirs is awarded. McCleverly with the throw in then into Jones. Been a little bit absent in this one. There's Phil Haber into Jones. Speaking of the man, into the penalty area goes Jones. Jones! David Jones has equalised for Derby County just before half-time. 42nd minute. We take it. I was just saying, I swear FM listens to you. I was just saying how I thought he'd been a little bit absent in this particular game. And we get the ball worked to him. Phil Haber finds him. Good run from him as the CM on attack in midfield. And he rifles it over the top of the goalkeeper to make it 1-1. Derby County are back in this. It's only our second shot on target. Ball in towards Leroy Lita. This is where Reading can be dangerous. Nothing silly needed from us here. Nothing silly from us here. Literally a minute later, Glenn Little puts Reading back in the lead. Now, as I said before the start of the game, Reading were one of the teams that got relegated in this season as well. So this is a real stake as to how good we can be this year. We cannot lose at home against the likes of Reading. I said nothing silly. I thought Jones might have given away a penalty. He didn't. The ball is in the back of the net though. That is one long-range strike from each team that hits the bar as Robert Earnshaw goes down with a potential foot injury. So Kenny Miller is going to come on here. We're not really pressing at all here. So maybe we're going to have to tweak the tactic a little bit. Into Doyle. Oh, please not a third for Reading. Lita goes down. Convey is in. Hits the inside of the post. It's offside. It's a Derby free kick. I thought that was a penalty. I thought it was a foul on Leroy Lita. We are ropey at the back, it would appear. 0.94 XG for Reading, and they are in the lead at halftime at Pride Park. I'm going to show me something better in the second half. We fired the boys up there. Into Kenny Miller. Can run at the goal here. Kenny Miller onto his right foot. Into the penalty area goes Kenny Miller. Oh my God. The timing on these goals is absolutely unreal. I promise you this is not a pre-record. Kenny Miller has scored a goal for Derby County on his debut here. And again, it was a player that I was in the middle of criticising in Pearson, doing a lot of the hard work here. Into Jones as the CM on attack. But Kenny Miller does an awful lot here. Gets onto his right foot, cuts inside to the penalty area, and then slots it under the goalkeeper. What a start from us in the second half. We are back level. We'll call it now. He's down at a 6.1 is Barnes. Gary Teal I'm going to bring in. That's the guy who we kind of earmarked for that position anyway. He's also got a nice little bit of pace on him. Eddie Lewis, can you Can you facilitate on that left-hand side? You know what? Pearson did well for the goal there, so I'm going to let him ride. Ideally, I kind of want to bring on Matt Oakley at some point, but Benny Philhaber's actually doing all right. So we're just going to do the one change right now, just the one change on the right midfield spot, and hopefully we can kind of tick ourselves into a good position to win this game. Some of the players in this database, like, I'm really not looking forward to playing Cesc Fabregas. I think he's going to rip this team apart. Drogba at Chelsea is going to be another huge problem for this team. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to take some beatings in this season, but hopefully we can do enough to pick up as many points as we possibly can to survive, or at least do better than Derby did in real life. Todd, my DM, is about to get sent off here for a foul on Leroy Lita on the edge of the penalty area. He'd already been booked. He's down at a 6.3, and we're just going to have to go with a 4-4-1 with that sending off. That's the guy who injured Petr Cech, no? Stephen Hunt. First goal of the season. It had so much promise. It had so much promise. And he runs it Pearson and goes round him like he's not even there. Pearson gets back, but never mind. The cross comes over. Lita doesn't get there. Hunt keeps the ball in play for Reading. And there is the goal for Leroy. Teal running down the right-hand side. He's got a little bit of pace here. Could potentially take on a tired Nicky Shorey if he wants to. Phil Haber's on the inside. Lots of space to run into. Has a strike. Doesn't hit the target. And look at the counter. Okay, this is a problem. Okay, look at the counter. So that's my inverted fullback here. Centre-back 1, centre-back 2. And look at the bodies that Reading have got. Shane Long up towards Dave Kitson. They've got cutbacks aplenty. Long's there. It's in again. Shane Long has scored. Literally all of the Reading forwards have scored, apart from Dave Kitson. It's 5-2 on the opening day of the season. It's a disaster. I feel 5-2's a little bit harsh. 3 of the goals coming after Andy Todd received his marching orders. That is not a good start to our Premier League campaign. We're going to go into the dressing room. I'm going to say I expect to see you all in training tomorrow, especially you, Andy. We're not at the bottom of the table. Bolton, Newcastle and Birmingham all below us. Not a great start. Let's see what we can do with the rest of this. Hopefully you're enjoying the video. If you are enjoying this retro database and a little bit of a nostalgia factor, hit the like button. And whilst you're down there, as I said, go and give Mad some props. But let's get into the season review and see if we can keep this team in the Premier League. So after a disappointing defeat to start the season, we faced a tough trip to Villa Park, where things didn't really improve for us. We were firstly caught out on a set piece as Zat Knight headed home from an Ashley Young cross, before Curtis Davis scored an absolute banger to see us lose the game 2-0. This was followed up by a free hit as we took on Chelsea at home, but we were again reduced to 10 men as Andy Griffin received his marching orders on 18 minutes, and we then proceeded to get ripped apart by Didier Drogba. After the first month of the season, we have slumped into the relegation zone and are one of 3 teams currently on 0 points. September was a huge month for us, which kicked off with our first points of the season. We were at the Riverside, and despite going a goal down on 2 separate occasions, we managed to secure a draw thanks to Stephen Pearson firing in from outside the area. I then thought we were going to score back-to-back points as we took on Blackburn, but Morgan Gamps Pedersen popped up with a 93rd minute goal to snatch all 3 points at Ewood Park. Next, we had a huge bottom of the table clash as we took on Portsmouth at home, and this was a monumental game for us as we secured our first win of the season thanks to David Jones scoring on the stroke of half time. So we're not even a full 2 months into this season, into this challenge, and we've already got as many wins as Derby actually managed to achieve in real life. And to round off the month, we travelled to Old Trafford to take on Sir Alex and the defending Premier League champions, and we got completely blown out here with Rooney, Ronaldo and Tevez scoring goals in a 4-1 United win. Rounding off the month, we are currently sat in 16th place in the table with just a single point separating us from the relegation zone. October started with another huge opportunity for points as we took on Sunderland at home, but again our ill discipline cost us. We took the lead through Claude Davies before Andy Todd received his second red card of the season. Once down to 10 men, Sunderland were able to dominate the game, getting goals through Danny Higginbottom, Carlos Edwards and Michael Chopra. We followed this up with a disappointing defeat on the road to Wigan, as goals from Kevin Kilban and Antonio Valencia put us to bed. But the worst news out of that fixture was the injury to star striker Kenny Miller, who suffered a broken ankle and will be out for the next 2 to 3 months. A disappointing October came to a close with us suffering a 3-1 defeat at home to Arsenal, with Eduardo bagging an impressive hat-trick. Now who remembers him? Those results saw us slump to the bottom of the table with just 4 points from 10 games, but there's still a lot of football to be played this season. We needed a reaction from the boys, and we got it in our first fixture of November as Stephen Pearson lashed a shot beyond Tim Howard to see us pick up a huge 3 points at Goodison Park. We then welcomed Manchester City to town and their boss Sven-Goran Eriksson, and despite taking the lead from the spot through Robert Earnshaw, City snatched all 3 points thanks to goals from Emil Mpenza and Richard Dunn. And we rounded off the month with a trip north to St James's Park, only to lose 1-0 thanks to a James Milner penalty. This disappointing form continued into December with back-to-back defeats at home, first losing to Bolton Wanderers and then Liverpool before coming into a relegation 6-pointer as we took on Birmingham away from home. We had to win this fixture and the game had hardly any chances in it, but we were awarded a penalty as Johan Giroud fouled Dean Laycock and big Robbie Earnshaw stepped up and slotted the penalty. Those 3 points saw us move out of the relegation zone and have 10 points from our 16 games going into the festive period. That win also gave us a huge confidence boost going into the next game against Fulham, and we had another 3 points snatched from us at the death as Fulham scored a 92nd minute penalty to see the game end in a draw. We finished the month with back-to-back fixtures in London where we shared the spoils with Spurs thanks to Robert Earnshaw netting a remarkable hat-trick at White Hart Lane. And in the second game we were bumped back down to reality with a loss at Upton Park as West Ham scored 3 goals with Mark Noble, Dean Ashton and Craig Bellamy getting on the score sheet. Honestly, the nostalgia that this database can give you, it's so good. Thank you, mad scientist. Halfway through the season, we've already achieved more points than that Derby side did in a full year, but we are still precariously just outside the relegation zone in 17th. Going into the January transfer window, I have a budget of £2 million, and this is where Derby actually signed Robbie Savage. So guess who I will be trying to pick up to bolster this team? I wanted to stay true to this Derby side. There were some free agents around that I could have picked up, but I only wanted to sign the players that they did do in real life. However, that was probably a little bit trickier than I was expecting. Both Robbie Savage and Roy Carroll had no interest in joining the club, so our only January addition was Hossam Ghali, who arrived on loan from Spurs. On the pitch, we had an absolute stinker in January, suffering 3 defeats in a row. We first got dismantled by the big boy duo of John Carew and Marlon Harewood as Aston Villa beat us 3-1 at Pride Park. We followed that up by getting pasted by Reading on the road before suffering a narrow defeat to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, with John Terry heading home the all-important goal. February presented us with an opportunity to pick up some points as we faced several of the teams around us in the league. First up, we faced Middlesbrough at home and shared the spoils thanks to Stuart Downing pulling Borough level in the 88th minute. We then suffered back-to-back defeats at home against Manchester United, with their January signing David Silva getting on the score sheet before losing 2-0 to Blackburn. Damn you, Robbie Savage. Closing off the month, we had 2 fixtures on the road and we picked up a 3-3 draw with bottom place Sunderland at the Stadium of Light before defeating Tony Adams Portsmouth at Fratton Park, with Hossam Ghali netting his first goal for the club. So we picked up a huge 5 points in the month of February, which moved us narrowly out of the relegation zone by just a single point, and things are awfully tight at the bottom of this table. Kicking off March, we entertained Wigan at Pride Park and we took the lead through an own goal, only to see Mario Melchior equalise and see us share a point apiece. We then had to travel to the Emirates to take on Arsenal, and we witnessed a Robin van Persie masterclass as he ripped us apart in a 4-0 demolition. Returning home, we then faced Everton, who were fired into the lead by the big yak Yakubu himself, but Matt Oakley fired in a long-range curled effort to see us claim our second point of the month. And finally, to finish March, we shared a 0-0 draw with Manchester City, with both sides being wildly underwhelming. Moving into the penultimate month of the season, we faced Spurs at home and we suffered a narrow defeat, with Robbie Keane seeing his penalty saved by Stephen Bywater, but less than 60 seconds later, Keane was able to shake it off and score the winner in the game. We then faced Newcastle at Pride Park and probably put in our performance of the season, dismantling the Geordies using set pieces to our advantage, winning the game 3-0 and taking another stride towards survival. It was Bolton Wanderers up next, who took the lead through Ricardo Gardner, but Robert Earnshaw was able to latch onto a long ball and a clipper header over the top of an out-rushing Jussi Jääskeläinen. However, Kevin Nolan scored the pick of the goals with an outrageous trivela to see us leave the Reebok empty-handed. We finished the month with a trip to Anfield to take on Liverpool, and sadly got taken apart by their dynamic duo of Steven Gerrard and Fernando Torres, with the Spaniard scoring the final decisive goal. So we have 3 games of the season remaining, and we currently sit 1 point away from the relegation zone. We've already doubled the points return of the worst Premier League team ever, but I really think keeping Derby in the division would be remarkable. I thought we'd be able to pick up 3 points at home against Birmingham, but we were caught cold in the first half, going into the break 3 goals down. Robert Earnshaw did score twice in the second half, but it was too little too late, and we slumped to a very disappointing defeat. We then had a throwaway game on the road to Fulham, which we lost, meaning that we would go into the final game of the season with our own fate in our own hands. It was simple: win and you're safe. We were taking on West Ham at home, but we needed to watch the results of Sunderland, Wigan and Birmingham, as any combination of us could get relegated. And the final day produced an unbelievable amount of drama. We suffered a really disappointing defeat at home against the Hammers, with a surprise January signing of Hulk guessing on the score sheet, meaning we finished the season with just 23 points. Sunderland faced Spurs at the Stadium of Light, and despite going 2 goals behind, Sunderland were able to pull themselves level to see the game end in a draw. So they finished on 23 points as well, but we had a better goal difference, so we finished above them. However, Birmingham produced an amazing result, picking up a 2-0 win on the road at Fratton Park. And finally, Wigan were at home against Bolton and really put in a performance, defeating Wanderers with Antonio Valencia running the show. That meant that on the final day of the season, we dropped back into the relegation zone, finishing the season on 23 points and a -44 goal difference. So massively better than that Derby side did in real life. But sadly, that wasn't good enough for the Derby board, who decided to terminate my contract with immediate effect. Now, this was an amazing save to do. The database is incredible. I'm actually going to challenge you to see if you can do better than I did. My save setup from the start of the game is going to be posted on my Patreon. You can go and get it for free. And I just want to see if any of you guys can keep Derby in the league. If you want to see some more rebuilds or something, or some other content on this database, I would happily do it. Let me know about it down in the comment section as well. And until next time, guys, take care.